Hello friends and welcome to my channel. Today I will be showing you my book collection. So I'll be going in depth what books I own, maybe a summary if I read them or know a little bit about them. If you guys are interested in these kinds of videos, then just like and subscribe. There will be more to come. This is going to be part one because I just had too many to put it all, or this would be one really long video, and I personally like really long videos, but I just don't like editing really long videos. So I'm gonna make this into a two-part series. So if you are interested in my book collection, then just keep watching. Oh, I did want to show you guys my makeup for today. It's little hearts for Valentine's Day. Came up with this look from Shan XO here on YouTube. I am maybe planning to do a look with these little hearts. They're so cute. Let me know if you guys be interested in that. So this is how I store my books. I have these three Billy bookshelves in this corner, and I'm just showing you guys that top to bottom. I have some empty shelves that I haven't filled yet. And then on this side of the room, right next to my vanity, sorry, it's a mess, I have one more Billy bookshelf, and then I have a wall that we're building. This bookshelf is my hardcover book, so I do have some empty spaces here. Okay, so the aesthetic of my bookshelf is kind of color coordinated. It goes from dark to blue to green to red to orange to yellow creams. Then I have my Colleen Hoover section, I have my off-campus and addicted series section, and then I have light colors, and then I have my Sarah J Maas section, and I have my Jennifer L. Armentrout section. Okay, so hopefully this angle isn't too much, but this is my lowest shelf, and with my lowest shelf, I purposely made them short, so all my historical romances can be lined together. So I'm just going to come right in here. Well, these are some of the historical romances I have. Now with my historical romances, I'm doing two rows. So I'm doing a back row and a front row. So once I finish these, then I will push them to the back. But I'm not done with these yet. So here I have Falling into Bed with a Duke. I have The Earl Takes All. Majority of these are series, so they go together. So I also did that when putting my historical fictions together. Like I made sure I had if I had the full series, they went together. Lorraine Heath, In Bed with the Devil. Lorraine Heath, Between the Devil and Desire. Now I'm currently reading like one historical romance a month, so that's how I'm slowly gonna get through my historical romance series. Lorraine Heath, Surrender to the Devil. This is Lorraine Heath, Midnight Pleasures with a Scoundrel. Lorraine Heath, When the Duke Was a Wicked. Lorraine Heath, Once More, My Darling Rogue. Lorraine Heath, The Duke and the Lady in Red. And then we have Lorraine Heath, An Affair with a Notorious Heiress. Now this shelf is missing three books. They're from the Girl Meets Duke series by Tessa. I'm going to speak about them in my next video, so that's why they're not here. But once they're here, they'll be like super packed like that, so it'll be really good. So I'm working through my historical fiction. Then my next lowest shelf is my Harry Potter shelf. Now this is my Harry Potter collection. I got this for Christmas. It's a chest with all the hardbook Harry Potter books. I'm not gonna take this all the way out because it's kind of hard to get in, but I love this chest. I love how it's all stored 1 through 7. I absolutely adore these books. I plan on rereading this series. It just locks like that. So super cute, love that. My family got me that for Christmas. And then in my third shelf, lowest straw, this one is a little packed. I did have it on the first bookshelf, but I moved it here because I want to get through the first bookshelf and then work my way through this. So there's two rows here, so I'm going to read the first row of all the historical romances, and like I said before, my bottom row is going to house all my historical romances just because they are mini sizes compared to the other books, so I can have more shelf space if I need it. Sorry, I'm butchering her name. By Lisa Kleypas. I have Mine Till Midnight, Seduce Me at Sunrise, Tempt Me at Twilight, Married by Morning. Now, those for Lisa Claypie's book is the next series I'm going to jump into after The Girl Meets Duke. I just finished that series, so these are the next ones that I'm going to finish in the next 4 months. I have Lisa Claypie's Love in the Afternoon. Sorry, I think this series has 5 books. It's these 5 books in this series. Then I have Lisa Claypie's Secrets of a Summer Night. I'm gonna just stop saying her name because I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly. But the same author, I have It Happened One Autumn, Devil in Winter, Scandal in Spring, Where Dreams Begin, and then we're back to some Lorraine Heath where she tempts the Duke. Lorraine Heath, Lord of Wicked Intentions. I really love the coloring of this cover. Lorraine Heath, Beyond Scandal and Desire. That's all I'm gonna do for my historical romances, because like then I have another row back there and I'm not even ready to touch that row. So when I am, I'll do it in like a TBR or something else coming up. I'm moving on to the next shelf on top of my historical romances, and this is where mainly, I don't know why, like I have dark books, and usually the dark books go with usually in my collection go with spicy or dark romances. So this is actually this one. This is so weird that I just said that. And then my first book, which is the Atlas 6. This is a dark academia. Now I don't want to start this book until the second one comes out, because I hate reading a book and then waiting for the next one to come out, and then by the time it comes out I forgot what's in the first one. So I'm holding on to this. I really want to read it, but I'm just waiting till a closer date when the second one is coming out. The next book on my shelf is Shadow Series. This is Shadow's Kiss. I have absolutely no idea what this book is about, but Amazon kind of recommended this to me because I was reading From Blood and Ash at the time, and I'm such a huge From Blood and Ash fan that I will take anything similar. From the back, it sounds like it's kind of like a fantasy romance, dark, but definitely get into that. Here is the Maid series. I am so excited to read this. I have The Sweetest Obsession, The Maddest Obsession, and The Darkest Temptation. And I'm not gonna move these because I like the way they are lined up. So the Maid series, I heard, is a mafia romance, I think. I'm not 100% sure, don't quote me on that, but I absolutely love mafia romances, so I'm excited to read that. Then over here I have Kingdom of the Wicked, which I have no idea what it's about, but it was hyped up on social media. So Kingdom of the Wicked, so I have it. I want to get the second book, but the second book I can only find in hardcover right now, and I'm refused to buy hardcover if I have the first one paperback. And people rave about this book so much. So I can't wait to get into this one. Over here in the corner, I have Find You in the Dark, and I absolutely adore this book. This book is a 5-star read for me. Just real quick, this is about Maggie and Clay deals with a lot of mental health issues, and Maggie is just a good girl raised in a supportive family, so they have to grapple with the two different lives and with Clay's mental health issues. And please just look up any trigger warnings for any books that I am mentioning today. So then this is my second shelf, continuing on with the dark aesthetic. And in here, right here, I have Neon Gods by Katie Roberts. I love this series. This is like a Greek mythology series where Olympia is dark and it has Hades, and of course he has like a voyeur sex club. But I also do have the second book in this series, which is Electric Idol. I just have it over there to the side because I'm doing another video with that. And then I have from the Wicked Villain series, the first book, Desperate Measures. I absolutely love this book. This is Jafar and Jasmine retelling where Jafar and Jasmine get together. These books here are 18 plus. I'm pretty sure almost all of these are 18 plus. So you've been warned. And I really like the way like all these 4 books feel. Like they just have like that matte to them with like that soft, like almost, it feels like suede, but I know it's not suede texture. And it just is so nice. And this is A Throne of Ruin, which is a continuation of A Ruin of Roses. So this is book 2 in that series. series. But yeah, I like my dark romances and my spicy books to be black books because that's just how I feel like they should be. Then over here in this corner, I have the Voyeur series by Fiona. So this is the first book. This is Voyeur, and I'm not 100% sure, but I know this book, this one specifically, revolves around a sex club, and this is a student teacher where the teacher goes to the club and notices his student, and then they start a relationship, but he doesn't tell her that he is a member of that club, so that obviously caused a little bit of drama in this book. Now this is the next one in that Voyeur series. This is Lovers. Then the next one in the Voyeur series is the book Liar. And then the final book that I have, it's not finished, I think there's like one or two more in the series, is Savior. Okay, and then this is right next to my last shelf, and this is like my last dark shelf. So here I have my first book, which is Bound by Honor by Cora. I absolutely love this book. It was so good. I need to finish this series, but I think there's like 12 books in this series. Okay, so here I have the books Until Nico and Until Trevor. I have the books Until Nico and Until Trevor. I have the book Until November, which is the first one in this series, to the side because of course I'm doing a video with that book. But I believe these 3 books revolve around a sex club. I'm not 100% sure. Clearly there's a theme that I like books that revolve around sex clubs. Like, let's not judge. This is an open space. But next I have Guild. And this is the Pleated Prisoner series. And I have the book Glint. Now, this was also recommended to me on Amazon because I liked Blood and Ash. So I absolutely have no idea what these books are about, but I'm so excited to get into them. The next books I'm going to get into is the Miles High Club series. So the first book I have is The Casanova. I'm going to buddy read this with my best friend, so I'm waiting for her so we could get into this. In the series, I believe it's The Stopover, which is the second book. I could be wrong, but then after that, it's The Takeover. So even if I have these 3 in the wrong order, just know that this is the Mile High Club series, and I've just heard great things about that, so I can't wait to get into that. And then the next book I have here is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I absolutely adore this book. This book is a 5-star read. I recommend it. This is about Evelyn Hugo and her 7 husbands, and they're trying to figure out who was the love of her life. The next book in my collection is The Daughter of the Pirate King, another 5-star read for me. This is a young adult book, so there is no sexy scenes, there's no smutty scenes, but it's still like angsty, the romance you love. You love Eloisa in the story. She's such a badass bitch, so this is a 5-star read for me. I adore this book. Now, this book is The Perfect First. I know this is part of a series as well. I think I have all 4 books of this series, but they're just scattered around because only the first one came in black, then 2 of them came in like white, and I'm just missing the 4th one because I'm looking around my shelves and I don't see the 4th one. The next book in my collection is A Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. Now, if you saw my reading wrap up on this book, it was not one of my favorite books. I gave it like a 3-star, but it's Penelope Douglas, so of course I'm going to have it in my collection. Next book on my shelf is The Guest List by Lucy Foley, and this is a Reese's Book Club. I usually love Reese's Book Club's recommendations, so I am excited to read this book. My best friend gave it to me, so I'm going to wait and buddy read this with her as well. So this is My Dark Vanessa, and this was a reading recommendation from More to Mary, and I absolutely adore her here on YouTube. I'm gonna link her video down below of this particular book because she goes into depth about this book, and it was a really good read. I think I gave this a 4-star. It's a disturbing read. It's about a girl who gets groomed by her teacher. This is the next shelf up after on my dark shelf. So this, we get a little bit of color, we get some blues, we get some greens. So here, starting off this shelf is the first book is The Duchess. Then the next book I have is The Fine Print. Now, I know this is like Disneyland, a romance, and I'm so excited to read this, but I'm just waiting for more books in the series to come out because I don't really, like I said earlier, I don't really like to start a series and a majority of the books aren't out. So I'm just gonna wait till more of the books came out so that I can just binge read this. The next book on my shelf is Daughter of the Siren Queen, another YA book. This is part 2 to Daughter of the Pirate King. Absolutely adored this book. I actually did a video based on this book and Daughter of the Pirate King. If you want to go see that, I'm gonna have that link down below. But I absolutely loved this series. It was such a good series. The next book on my shelf is Beneath the Starless Sky, and this is a novel of World War II. So this takes place right before Nazi Germany and then during Nazi Germany. So you get to see the change in the climate right before Nazi Germany, so how like the discrimination against Jews happened, and then you see it during while it's going on. And this is all being told from the viewpoint of a dancer named Lily Steinberg. The next book on my shelf is 8 Perfect Hours. Now, this was meant to be read during Christmas, but I obviously didn't get around to it. So I will definitely do it this holiday season coming up. I have tons of books to get through, so it won't bother me to wait till Christmas to read this one. But I think it's about this girl. She gets locked in a car or snowed into a car, I'm not 100% sure, with this guy, and the story goes on from there. I might even actually read this in February because I just read the back real quick and it takes place in January, and January is really not too far away from February, so I might actually get to that this month. Actually, let me pull this out. I'm gonna put this on my TBR. Next book I have is Such a Fun Age, and this book, I know it's about it's a Reese's book club, so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna love this book. It's about this nanny. She's a black nanny. Actually, I don't even want to get this wrong. This is about a nanny who gets caught with like a white baby in a supermarket, but like she's the babysitter of that baby, I believe, and then like the story goes on from there. So I'm really excited to find out what this is about. Now this book, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm doing a Jack Edwards, he's here on YouTube, recommendation, and I'm pretty sure he recommended this book, like reading it from one of his celebrity recommendations. So he recommended this from that video, so I'm gonna read it and see if I agree with his opinion. And then this is Hamnet, which is also another Jack Edwards recommendation. So I'm going to read this and do a Jack Edwards video, like if I agree with his views or not. I was a little afraid to pick this up because I think this is a Shakespeare retelling, and I'm not really fond of Shakespearean writing. It's just difficult for me to understand. Like, I don't really like lyrical writing like that. It's just a preference. But I read the back of this and it didn't seem like it was written like that. So I'm going to give it a chance and hopefully I'm going to enjoy it. This is a book 2 of the Wicked Villain series, Learn My Lesson. And I absolutely adore this book. This is about Hades, Meg, and Hercules. I absolutely love the throuple, and the Wicked Villain series revolves around Hades' sex club in the underworld, so it's super interesting. The next book on my shelf is All In, which is the second book to Full Tilt. So I want to read this series so bad. I heard it's an emotional series, so like for emotional books, like I really need to take my time. I give a lot of space in between crying. So I just finished Reminders of Him and I felt like that was a real emotional read. The next book on my shelf is Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers, and I absolutely adore this book. This book was a 5-star read. I recommend this book to anybody who, if you are spiritual, if you don't mind reading books that have God in it, 100% great read. This is about a girl named Angel and her life and how she gets sold into prostitution. Her mom dies at a really young age, and all the bad stuff that life throws at her, and how like God doesn't give up on her and sends her this husband, Hosea, to kind of help her and lead her on a way. And even though she's so rebellious towards him, he never gives up. The next book is It Happened One Summer by Tessa, and I absolutely love this book. It was so good. It was a 4-star read. This is about Piper, and she's like a social influencer slash one of those girls, and she gets caught in like a scandal, and her stepfather wants to punish her, so he sends her to the town where her father grew up in because he has like a bar there running, and he wants her like to learn like to work and the value of money and stuff, so he sends her there where she meets a Brendan, a fisherman in the town, and it's literally grumpy sunshine because Brendan's so grumpy, he doesn't like her, and then they develop a romance. And the next book on my shelf I have not read yet. It's Archer's Voice. I'm so excited to read it because people just say amazing things about this book. I'm not 100% sure what it is about, but I think it's about a girl, I think it's about a boy named Archer, and he doesn't speak, and there's this girl in town and she gets him to talk to her, I believe, something like that, and they develop a relationship. So the next book is Glass Sword, and this is book 2 to the Red Queen series. Now I have not heard anything about this series and I haven't read it yet, so I'm going in fully blind. Hopefully I enjoy it. It just looked interesting. It was on the TikTok table at my Barnes and Noble, so I decided to pick it up. And this is the second book. I think there's there's 4 books in the series, as you can see in the back, and I'm just excited to pick up all 4 and hop into this series. The next book on my shelf is The X Talk, and this is about 2 people who I don't believe they were not in a relationship at all, but they pretend to be exes to run this podcast together, and that's interesting to me. So I picked it up and I can't wait to read it. Haven't read that one yet. But this next book I did read, The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I can't wait to watch this movie. I'm just gonna watch it on Amazon Prime because it came out in like one movie theater in New York City, which I can't believe that, but it did. So I thought this would be such a bigger movie, but it wasn't. Anyways, I digress. The Hating Game. Love this book. It was one of my first reads when I was getting back into reading, so I'm glad I bought into the hype and got this book. This book is about Lucy and Josh, and they have kind of like a work rivalry that's hilarious because Lucy is actually the actor's name who plays her in the movie. But anyways, I think her name is Lucy. Alright, but anyways, I digress. Yes, so her and Josh have this work rivalry, and they're kind of like enemies to lovers, and it's a really good book, especially if you want to watch the movie. Okay, so this is the next shelf, which goes from like blue to green. It's a little purplish over here. The first book on my shelf is The Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. I haven't read this, but when I got into reading and I was all over Book Talk, this was a highly recommended book, so I picked it up. The next book that was highly recommended was a beach read, also by Emily Henry, so I picked that up as well. I'm waiting for the summertime to read this book because it gives me like summer beach vibes, so I'm just gonna wait to read this. But I know this is about 2 authors. I think she writes romance, I think he writes like sci-fi or something like that, and then they like switch genres, and she takes him on dates and he takes her to like conventions so that they can learn about each other, which I thought is super adorable. The next book on my shelf is The Love Hypothesis by Asawood, and I absolutely adored this book. This book is about Olive, and she's a 3rd year PhD student, and she just randomly kisses this professor in her college, and she kisses him because her best friend wants to date a guy that she went on a date with, and so now she needs to pretend that she's dating that professor, and he goes along with it as well because there's reasons on his half on why dating or looking like he's dating her would be beneficial to him. So that's how they start, and obviously their love story continues on from there. I know this is a hyped up series, and I'm super late to this series, and this is after, and I really want to get into this series. I really want to read this book, but this is a no joke book. Like, this is a chunky book. So I'm currently reading a lot right now, and I want to get through a lot of my collection, so I don't want to jump into a chunky book like that yet, but I definitely want to get into the after series and then watch the movies. Now, the next book on my shelf is Just a Fling by Charity Farrell, and this, I have no idea why I picked this up. Like, I don't know who recommended it. I don't know where I saw it. I know this is a series. I'm pretty sure this is a series, and let me just look at the back real quick. Okay, so this does look up my alley. I'm not sure if it's a bodyguard movie star storyline. Seems like it from the back. She's done with guys. He doesn't want anything to do with girls in the industry, and they end up together, so that would be interesting to read. The next book on my shelf is Dear Emmy Blue, and I saw this and I have no idea why I picked this up, but this just seems so up my alley. Like, look at this cover. This cover is so adorable. So I know this book did draw me in because it's about Emmy, and she puts her email address and a big secret on a balloon and lets it go, and I don't know what happens after that, so curious to find out. This is the next book in my shelf, and I know this is part of a series as well. I just don't have the other series. I'm 100% sure I got this recommendation from More to Mary, but I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I did get that recommendation from her. This is Shameless King by Maya Hughes. And now the next book on my shelf is The Red Queen. Now this is obviously the first book in the Red Queen series, so I am so excited to start this series. I can't wait. The next book I have on my shelf is A Rogues of One Own. Now this is the League of Extraordinary Women series, and I did read the first book in this series, which is Bringing Down the Duke. I'll show you guys when we get closer to it. I did enjoy that series. I did enjoy that book, and I want to finish off this series. So I need to pick this one up soon. The next book I'm really looking forward to read is The Inheritance Game, but this is also part of a series that's not complete. So the next book on my shelf is Mexican Gothic, and this book I got because it's a thriller, and I just heard great reviews, and even like the girls at Barnes & Nobles who were checking me out told me like this is such a good book. So I took their advice and picked it up. I'm into thrillers right now, so I'm excited to get into the next book on my shelf is Normal People by Sally Rooney, and I absolutely loved this book. This was hands down a 5-star. I loved the romance in this book. I thought the ending was so perfect for this story. I didn't expect anything else. I felt like this is the most realistic romance that I ever read. Like I actually felt like I was reading someone's diary entries. That's how realistic this romance felt to me. So if you just want something real, like not all, and again, I love all the fluffy, lovey-dovey romances that I read, but this was so refreshing to like read something that is relatable to the next book on my shelf is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, and I did not like this book at all. I think I gave it a 2-star. This is about Poppy and Alex, and they stop being friends, and so Poppy wants to rekindle that friendship, so she plans a vacation for them, because before they stopped being friends, they used to take a vacation every year together, and then for the last 2 years, they haven't been speaking, so they have not taken those vacations. So she just wants to get her friendship back, so they tried to rekindle that. The next book on my shelf is Credence by Penelope Douglas, and this book is about a girl who loses her parents. So her step-uncle calls her to live with them, and she chooses to go live with him and his 2 sons, and she has relationships with all 3 of them. So this was not my favorite read. I think I gave it a 3-star because it was still an interesting read. It was just a little on the weird side for me. And the last book on this shelf is Tonight I'm Someone Else, Essays by Chelsea Hudson. And this was also recommended by Jack Edwards. So these are a bunch of essays / short stories. So I'm excited to do that Jack Edwards video and give you guys my opinion. So this is my last shelf on this row. This is my Jennifer L. Armentrout shelf because I do enjoy her books. So here I have my From Blood and Ash series. And I have my mug, my Harry Potter mug, which says MRI Tech because Hogwarts wasn't hiring. Story of my life. On the shelf, I have the book From Blood and Ash, A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, and A Crown of Gilded Bone. And then I also have her newest release, which is A Shadow in the Ember. So I plan on getting more books from her series. I really enjoy her as an author. Okay, so that is half of my book collection. If you guys liked this series, please like for a part 2. I bought majority of these books myself. I'm not showing to show off or anything. I'm just like, I like to watch people's collections, so I wanted to show my collection because this has happened over maybe half a year. I've gotten all these books, so I'm pretty happy with my collection.